Okay, so for this one, we're going to head deep into the American woodlands to uncover a story that is just born from pure sorrow. It's a legend that's equal parts heartbreaking and, well, just plain bizarre. It's about a creature supposedly doomed by its own reflection.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Can you imagine a being so completely consumed by its own misery that its only defense, its only escape, is to literally dissolve into a puddle of its own tears?
Well, that's the story we're getting into today. It all starts in the dark, dense hemlock forests of northern Pennsylvania, which is supposedly the home of one of the most pathetic and, honestly, most fascinating cryptids in all of American folklore.
So let's get a proper introduction to this morbid little beast. It's a creature that isn't defined by how ferocious or powerful it is, but by its overwhelming, all-consuming sadness.
This quote right here, this comes from the very first written account of the creature, and it totally captures the Squonk's most legendary, most famous characteristic. This isn't a beast you fight, it's a beast that just disappears into a puddle of tears if you get too close.
And get this, it even has its own scientific name, Lacrimacorpus dissolvens. It's this brilliant piece of fake taxonomy that literally translates to tear, body, dissolve. I mean, come on. The legend says its skin is all loose and covered in warts, and it's so horrified by how it looks that it just weeps constantly.
So how does a legend like this even get started? Well, like a lot of cryptids, it has that one signature sighting story. But this one doesn't end with some blurry photo. Nope, it ends with an empty bag. So, the hero of our story is a guy named J.P. Wentling. Picture this, it's a cold, moonlit night. He's out in the woods, and he hears this unmistakable sound, a soft, really sorrowful weeping coming from the dark trees. Now Wentling, being a pretty clever hunter, doesn't just charge in. He actually starts mimicking the creature's own sad cries, and he lures it right into his sack. So he throws it over his shoulder, thinking, I got it, I captured the beast. But as he's walking home, the weight in the bag just gets lighter and lighter until it's completely gone. He opens it up and finds nothing but a warm, salty puddle. The Squonk had cried itself right out of existence.
It's a great story, right? The kind of thing you'd tell around a campfire for generations. But the truth is so much stranger. Because the origin of this classic Pennsylvania legend isn't actually from Pennsylvania at all.
Yeah, it turns out the Squonk wasn't born from some ancient tale passed down through the years. It was born on the pages of a very, very peculiar book.
The first time the Squonk ever shows up in print is way back in 1910 in a book called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods. It was basically a field guide to all these wild, fantastical beasts that loggers supposedly made up. And then, almost 30 years later, the legend got picked up and expanded in a similar book, which really cemented the story.
And believe me, the Squonk had some very strange company in that book. You had things like the hide behind, which is impossible to see because, well, it's always behind you. Or the cactus cat, which apparently gets drunk off of cactus juice. These were never meant to be taken seriously. They were just good old-fashioned tall tales.
But here's the twist. The author, this William T. Cox guy, he wasn't just some random storyteller. He was a highly respected conservationist and was actually Minnesota's very first state forester. So that makes you wonder, right? Was this whole book just a big joke? Maybe some kind of satire aimed at the very lumberjacks who were chopping down the forests he was trying to protect? We don't really know for sure.
Whatever the reason for its creation, the Squonk did not stay locked up in that book. It got out, and somehow it found its way into some very, very unexpected places. You have to see this. In the mid-70s, two of the absolute biggest rock bands in the world both referenced this incredibly obscure weeping cryptid. Steely Dan used its tears as this great metaphor for sadness, and then the band Genesis wrote an entire epic song telling the story of J.P. Wentling's hunt. The sad little monster had become a full-blown prog rock icon.
And it didn't stop there. The Squonk has popped up in Paul Bunyan stories, it's in video games, card games. Its name is even used for a real scientific phenomenon. Chemical squonks are these unstable compounds that decompose the second you try to isolate them. They basically dissolve when they're cornered, just like the real thing.
And of course, in the internet age, the Squonk has found new life as something else entirely, a totally relatable meme. I mean, this comment from a Reddit user just captures it perfectly. This sad, self-loathing creature has become a weird kind of spirit animal for all of our more anxious moments.
So, how does a creature that was literally invented for a book become a legitimate piece of regional folklore? This is where the story gets really interesting.
Okay, so here's the huge paradox of the Squonk. If you go online, everyone calls it Pennsylvania's most famous cryptid. But if you're actually on the ground, in Pennsylvania, you'll find tons of residents who've lived there their entire lives and have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Its fame is almost entirely an outside thing, something projected onto the state.
And yet, the fiction is actually becoming fact. The local community has totally leaned into the legend. In Johnstown, they now hold an annual festival called Squonkapalooza, all to celebrate their sad, warty, homegrown monster. The myth is being actively adopted and made real, right before our eyes. Ultimately, the reason the Squonk has stuck around might be because of quotes just like this. People don't fear the Squonk, they feel for it. There's this incredible amount of sympathy for this fictional beast. We don't want to hunt it, we want to comfort it. We want to make the little bugger feel cute and happy. So, the Squonk almost certainly never existed in those hemlock forests, but it absolutely exists now, in songs, at festivals, in our collective imagination. And it leaves us with this one final fascinating question. If a story starts as fiction, but it becomes loved enough and celebrated enough, at what point does it stop being fiction and actually become something real?